Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bhed Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Gukarastu Andhakaro Vai Rukarastu Nivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambujanmane Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Grasaika Karmane. So in the last class, we had laid the foundation for the essential nature of Vairagya. So the essential nature of Vairagya means something which is a natural outcome of understanding the difference between the real and the unreal. So you can just take any simple examples that once you know that the fruit in front of you, which looks very enticing and nice, is made out of some metal or some wood or something like this, will you, supposing you are hungry, and here Swami Maheshanji had given this example. He said that he had visited a place, and I think we can relate to that because we have it in our house also. So there is a beautiful plate of mixed fruits, and if it is well done, it looks absolutely real. And it's only when you pick it up, it's all made out of stone. It is so heavy that you can easily distinguish that it is not really a real fruit. So Swami Maheshananji used to say he went to somebody's house, and there were some grapes and some other fruits lying there. So Swamiji just kind of reached out to it and was thinking that perhaps I should have some grapes, because he is visiting this host. And so he had a desire for eating the grapes. And when he found out that the grapes were really made out of stone or some other material, you can imagine what happens to his desire. It just goes away. And so this is really the example that I think we should keep it in mind in our life. If we know from the study of Shastras that the world that we experience does not have its own reality. You see, this is the thing that we have to, we cannot say that it is unreal. We cannot say it's unreal at first. But what we have to go through the intermediate step on is that it does not have its own reality. It is a borrowed reality. And so very similarly, I think this really is a great example in our modern times, that if you have a light bulb which is glowing, the light bulb does not have its own ability to light up the room. it is dependent on the electricity. The electricity is independent, but the light bulb is not. And so similarly here also, so therefore you can deal with the bulb accordingly. You can switch it off, switch it on, and if you switch it on and it doesn't work, you don't blame the electricity necessarily. It's very possible that the whole room may not be electrified, as it happens in a storm or something like that. But if you see other lights that are still on, but this one doesn't switch off or switch on, then you know that there is something to do with this particular appliance. You don't blame the electricity for it. And so similarly here also, in our experiences of the world, we find that at first they do not, they are not subject to any analysis. You cannot say, is it real, is it not real? Whatever we live in our life is the reality. This is what we have to deal with. We have to make sure that we don't get hurt. We have to make sure that we are not hungry. And so we fulfill our desires, and it seems to work up to a point. Everything seems to be okay. But then you find that there are some gaps in this understanding because you are not completely satisfied with your dealings with the world. You're partially satisfied, but not completely satisfied. You cannot say this one is now, this is my support from now on. From now on, this is what is going to really, I can just rely on it. This is kind of like relying on a light bulb, that this is just going to work no matter what. But that doesn't happen. You know from your analysis that the light bulb is actually a function of something much more basic. And you should expect the light bulb not to last too long, or to happen erratically, or something like that. So therefore, unlike the fruit which can be immediately taken to be false, thereby you can just get rid of your desires naturally. Your desire to go after that fruit is instantaneously gone. Unlike that, we have to go through a couple of steps. Even though the final step is the same, but for the time being, we have to go through some steps. And the first step is that you distinguish what is real and what is not real. So you see, in our life, I think until we are introduced to the Atma Vidya, until we understand that there are three orders of reality, right? I mean, I'm just covering the basics as part of this Vairagya, but it's important to focus on the essentials. So, before the introduction by Vedanta, by the Vedas, by the Shastra, before the introduction by the Shastra, all of us have two levels of reality. We are only cognizant of the two levels of reality. What are the two levels? Either the thing is there or not there. These are the two. Did you see that person? No, that person wasn't there. Okay, that means it's an absence of reality. Or the person was there, it is there. This is what we do, two levels of reality. Then the Shastra comes along and says, no, there's actually three levels of reality. There is Satyam, there is Mithya, and there is Asatyam or Tucham. Three levels of reality. So we said, really, how do you define the three levels? Okay. First one is Satyam, which means an independent reality. Independent reality means one which is the nature of reality. It is not. It does not take on reality to itself. It is reality. It is the very truth. And how do you define reality? Reality means something which is never non-real. Never. It is not conditional, it is not dependent, and it is never subject to going away. Never. So then when these truths are revealed to us, our mind has a question. I can understand your definition, the one which is independently real, not borrowed reality. It is not something like an appliance that borrows the electricity if it fulfills the condition of reflecting the electricity, but it is still borrowed. It is not like that. It is the reality itself. He says, I understand the concept, but is that possible? Because we don't see it anywhere. There is nothing which is unconditionally real. Unconditionally real means that there is, you always have to prove. You have to prove something that this is real. It is subject to some proof, isn't it? Because whether you saw someone, it was interesting. This is several years back, about 6-7 years back. I was I was a member of a local gym here in Palo Alto, and I used to go there quite regularly until the COVID hit, and then I stopped, and then I have never gone back. A lot of my friends have gone back, but now I've discovered just doing, and I'm getting older, I don't need to exercise quite as much. I cannot exercise that much. So anyway, I was a member of this club, which is a pretty Tony club, very exclusive club called Equinox. So one day I was exercising, and I saw a person close to me on the treadmill that seemed like it was Anderson Cooper. You know who Anderson Cooper is? Anderson Cooper is one of the prominent newscasters on CNN. I don't know if he's still there or not. I haven't been following him. I think he now hosts 60 Minutes also. But a very, very well-known, very popular person. I was just doing my exercising, and I looked up and I said, this looks like Anderson Cooper. But then I was not sure, and I didn't have the time and not have the interest really to identify whether it was Anderson Cooper or not. Then the next day I found out from a news report that Anderson Cooper was visiting the Bay Area for some lectures at the De Anza College. The De Anza College has some speakers forum where they invite various speakers to come. So they invited Anderson Cooper. The moment I found out, I said, yes, this is where I saw him. So now look at this. This is the story. I mean, this is the reason for the story. Not this is the story, but this is the reason for my story. There had to be a cause for proving that he was really Anderson Cooper. I could not tell otherwise because I never shook hands with him. I didn't want to bother him to say, "Sir, he's exercising. He's really just busy doing this." And he doesn't want to be disturbed by people walking up to him in the middle of the exercise and say, "Are you Anderson Cooper?" And he might have said yes. That's why I didn't want to do that. But my identification of him was pending a proof. Okay? This is the moral of not the moral, but this is the purpose of the story. So now we find that really everything in the world requires a proof. Everything. Everything in the world requires a proof. You cannot assert with assurance that there is something hot or cold until you touch it, until it has some forms that allow you to ascertain whether or not this is hot or cold, whether it is friendly or not, whether the person is happy or not. If he or she has a very big smile on the face, then you know that internally he's happy. And if the person is not, then, so in other words, everything in the world requires a proof. Okay? And so, when you look at Satyam as one of the three levels of reality that the Shastra points out, you also say, it's hard for me to visualize a Satyam because I don't have any cause as a proof to see that this is Satyam. I don't have it because I am a sane person. I'm a rational person, sane person. I'm not insane. And so therefore my estimation of the world around me is based on sanity. It's based on whether there is a proof or not. Is this is a friendly person or not? Is this is this my neighbor or is it some stranger? So everything that requires a certain proof. Now you tell me that there is a thing called Satyam, that there is a three-level reality, not a two-level reality. And you're telling me that the first one is Satyam, which is never untrue. Prove it to me, because I don't see it. I'd like to, that would be kind of nice to have something which is always there. But I don't see it. Where is the proof for it? So the Shastra says, okay, I will tell you where the proof is. But in the meantime, can we please complete the three levels of reality? So you say, okay, I'll give you some more time. I'm waiting. I'm waiting, like this. Now tell me what are the other two. And so now the other two are, we can go to the other end of the Satyam, which is Asatyam, also called Tucham, which means the opposite of Satyam, means it is never true. Never true. And it is very, it is, I wouldn't say rare, but it is very unusual for things to be never true. So Swami Dayanand Ji used to point out that one of the examples is a square circle. So just think about that. Is it possible for a circle to be square. It's an oxymoron. It's not possible. It is not true. So if you say, yes, I have an asatyam, no, you can say, I cannot believe there is asatyam. There are many, many cases where you can say that is completely asatyam. And so the very classical example given in the Shastra is the son of a barren woman. Asatyam, not possible. Horns on human beings. Not possible. It is asatyam. Alright, so now we have the two extremes, the satyam and asatyam. One which is never dependent and the other one is not possible to be there at all. One is independent, always true, and the other one is never true. Then there is something in the middle which is called mithya. And mithya means that it appears to be true, it can fool you into thinking that it is true, but it is not, does not have its own reality. It is a borrowed reality. So in the example of electricity and the appliance, there also it's a limited example, not a perfect example. The electricity is independent. As long as the grid works, this is where the limitation of the example is. As long as the grid works, there is electricity, it never goes away. But the mithya is the appliance that can appear to be glowing, but not independently glowing. It is borrowed glowing from the electricity. If something goes wrong, there's a slight problem with the filament, out. So there is a middle ground between satyam and asatyam called mithya, which means that it appears to be true. In the beginning it appears to be true, but if you analyze it and break it down, you find that it is not satyam. It is conditionally satyam, but not, it reflects satyam, it borrows satyam, but it is not satyam as its own nature. Okay, so now we have had the discussion about all the three levels of reality. This is what Vedanta teaches us. It says, listen, because you have never been introduced to this, and that perhaps there was no reason to be introduced to this, you were content with only two levels of reality. But if you want to go to the fundamental truth about what is going on in the world, then let me tell you, you have to expand your vision to include three levels of reality, not two. So we got that. Now let's go back to the original question. Is there satyam or not? And we say that there is no satyam because there is no proof for it. Like everything requires a proof, like my knowing that Anderson Cooper indeed was present in this area, that is a proof for me to identify. Now I can tell people. I actually came home the next day and I told my wife, I said I saw Anderson Cooper yesterday. And I hadn't told her that until I was sure of it. Because, you see people, they look like somebody else or whatever. So I didn't want to really talk unnecessarily. But once I found out that he was there, then I was excited to tell my wife. I said, hey, did you know? I asked her, I said, were you at the gym yesterday? Because she used to go there too. She says, no, I wasn't there in the morning. I said, well, I was there and I saw Anderson Cooper. So it requires a proof. Everything requires a proof. And Satyam does not have a proof. Therefore, even though you're telling me that there are 3 levels of reality, I don't buy it. I don't buy it because I see that things happen. And yes, there are some that are more permanent than others. Electricity is more permanent. That also will go away. And so nothing is permanent, and I just deal with whatever I experience in my life. So I don't see how you can help me with this 3 levels of reality. To this, Vedanta says, wait. Are you listening to me? There is Satyam, which is you. What? Which is me? You don't talk about me. I want to talk about the world. The world is all borrowed reality. You are not the borrowed reality. Am I not the borrowed reality? How do you mean? What do you mean by that? What's the implication? You are Satyam. How? How am I Satyam? Because you are the only entity that does not require a proof. How is that? Because I also require a proof. Okay. What do you require the proof? Well, I've got wrinkled skin, so I must be getting old. Requires a proof. I didn't say your body is the Satyam, because your body also falls under what you see. And what you see, what you feel, what you objectify is not the Satyam, but you are the Satyam. How am I the Satyam? Don't I require a proof? Do you really? Swamiji used to say that, for example, all the acharyas point this out. This is a very important thing. It really this is where we can just meditate on this fact. We can just get lost on this and understanding this. You never ask anybody, am I there or not? You can ask somebody, how do I look? You can tell somebody, I am not sure whether I was there. You can tell someone, I don't know why I reacted that way to the situation. Why did I get angry? What made me get upset? This you can all speculate on, and you can reasonably try to find a proof. But imagine someone asking a question to you. Can you please tell me if I am there or not? You can never make an appointment with the doctor. You know, we were just discussing this a few classes ago, that the nurse before the doctor, it was funny. I went for my eye checkup the other day. It's the funniest part. So I go there for my eye checkup, and because I felt that I think one of my glasses had broken. Yeah, my glasses had broken, and I just thought had not had an eye test for 2 years. And also I find that if there is any sign of cataract or anything, and I'm diabetic also, so the doctors had told me you have to be very careful. And one of the symptoms of diabetes is some changes in your eye that can be detected. So they've always encouraged me to come back every couple of years or so, minimum, sometimes every year. So I went to the ophthalmologist the other day, and so I enter, and this lady told me, "Welcome, Mr. Kapoor. Please, second door on the left. Please take a chair and sit down." And then she started examining my eyes and went through a very thorough, took left, looked right, up, down, this, that, or the other. It's very impressive how they do that. All the time, I'm thinking this is the doctor. Because she was doing such a superb job in examining me. She didn't seem like a clerk or anything like that. So I was happy with her. She must have spent like 15, 20 minutes with me, asking me to read this, that, or the other. Then she turns on the light of the room and says, "Mr. Kapoor, the doctor will be with you shortly." So I said, "I thought you were the doctor." She was not. She was just a nurse. So supposing you go to a doctor's office, and of course the first thing that the nurse asks you is, what brings you here? What brings you here? So you have to be very sure about it. Oh, I've got this neck pain and it doesn't seem to go away, and whatever, something or the other, some symptom. But suppose the nurse says, "What brings you here?" And you say, "I just want to ask the doctor a question." So the nurse will say, "Okay, but what question are you going to ask?" And if you say, "I just want to ask the doctor, am I here or not?" Am I or not? You can take out the word here, just to be clarified. Am I or not? So the nurse has to actually write some notes down, for the doctor, because the doctor is busy, and so you do all the prep and so on, and then you can leave the notes for the doctor as to what the blood pressure is and all those kinds of things. Supposing you write down, patient wants to know whether he is, question mark, or not a question mark, this is a statement. The patient wants to know whether he is. What will happen? The doctor will say he's at the wrong place. He needs to go to a mental hospital. So this is a very important thing, because unlike everything else that requires a proof, you don't require a proof. In fact, when I say you, I don't mean just you, but the real you, which is the same as real you everywhere, which is Paramatma, which is the Atma, which is the Jivatma. Same thing. You can call it different ways. You can say a big room, small room, it's a big space, small space, but space. So the only thing that does not require a proof is you. What you take out yourself to be may require a proof. Whether your mother was really the mother that has been told to you requires a proof. Who was your father requires a proof. But all those kinds of things that have to do with your body and mind are part of the samsara. That's not you. You do not require a proof. This is a very important thing. Why is it that I don't require a proof? You know why you should ask yourself, why is it that I don't require a proof? Okay, you can say, you have now convinced me that I really don't require a proof. You've given me a line of thinking to think about. Yes, I can see that. You can say that I can inquire what I am, but not if I am. This is a big difference. What I am has to do with your body-mind complex. If I am has nothing to do with the body-mind complex. It is me. It is I. So you've given me you've convinced me that I do not require a proof. Yes, this I can see now. But my next question is, how? How am I not requiring the proof? And what is the nature of myself that does not require a proof? Because immediately I think about what I am. I cannot think about what I am not. No, scratch that. I cannot think about me other than what I take myself to be, what I am. And clearly you made a distinction between what I am and that I am. What is the nature of I am? Why is it that I don't require a proof? What is the nature of myself that does not require a proof? How can I be certain about that? Because I immediately fall under the trap as to who I am, how old I am, my ethnicity, my gender, my education. Immediately I just surround myself with history. So my question is, even though I am somewhat convinced that I don't require a proof, how? How do I not require a proof? So The Shastra says, bravo, wonderful. I'm glad that we are getting somewhere, and your questions and your doubts are very valuable. The reason you don't require a proof is because you are Swayam Siddha. Swayam Jyoti. You are Swata Siddha, Swayam Siddha. You are there by yourself. By itself, you are there. And you are awareful by yourself, not as a borrowed awareness. You are the very nature of awareness. Swayam Jyoti. Swayam Jyoti. In the very Jyoti, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is Jyotir Brahmana, a beautiful section. We have talked about this before. So there you can see that for something to be there, you need light. You know, like for example, supposing you wake up in the middle of the night and it's complete darkness. Unless you have very good memory as to where the door to the bathroom is, how many, you can keep your eyes closed, or you can just open the eyes and see a little bit of ambient light, even though it's darkness, but it's not complete darkness, and you can see silhouette of the door and where the toilet is and so on. But suppose you go somewhere where you've never been before, it's complete darkness, you don't know what is. You don't know what it is. So you need the help of an illuminating source, some light. And of course, the most important illuminating source is the sun. So the sun is the major illuminator of the world. Without sunlight, there is no day. Without day, you cannot tell what is not, what is good, what is not good, what is far, what is close. You do not say that. And then if night comes, if the moon was there, this is all from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. There is actually a sequence of how this is. If the moon was there, even though the sun is not there, there is some light for you to see. The roads are illuminated and you can walk on seeing the road and not get into a ditch. If the moon is not there, you can simulate the sun by having some electrical appliance, which is the energy comes from the sun itself. So it is like borrowed sun. It's exactly like solar panels, and you have a electric battery at home. So, or you can have a battery in the flashlight, and then you can turn the flashlight on and you can see what is going on. Okay, so you can even see yourself, you can see your body and hands and so on. But now let us see the limitations of the illuminating sources. The sun and the light, and in fact some sophisticated instruments that shine the light like X-rays. Or ultrasound. And some other sophisticated instruments. You can find out the inside of the body even. You can take a picture of it. But can the sun illuminate your thoughts? No. Why not? Because the sun and the objects that it objectifies is of course made out of the Pancha Mahabhutas, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha and Prithvi. These 5 basic elements. So the sun also is made out of them, and the things that it also objectifies are made out of Pancha Mahabhutas, like things. But the mind is the sattvic element of the Pancha Mahabhutas. And even the pranas are also from a very subtle aspect of the Pancha Mahabhutas. So, just like we saw in the Gita recently, that it cannot kill a Prithvi, it cannot, a weapon cannot kill the Atma, because the Atma is even subtler than the Akasha. So something which is born out of the Akasha, not only the Akasha but also the other things, cannot go back to the most subtle things that it was born out of and make any it cannot injure it, cannot kill it. So similarly, the sun cannot even objectify your thoughts. So you see the limitations. The sun can objectify everything, the sunlight, but it cannot objectify the thoughts. But there is something that can objectify the thoughts, which is you, the conscious entity, jnanam. Isn't it? You know exactly what your thoughts are even as you are listening to me. It's very possible that you may be thinking of a couple of other things that you have to do right after the class. Thoughts. You are aware of them. Then you say, okay, that can hold off. Let me just listen to this teacher. Thoughts. The sun is not involved. There is no light involved. The sun and the light cannot even illuminate your thoughts, but you are illuminating the thoughts. And you are illuminating the thoughts. The question is, who is illuminating you? If we have a progression of the sun illuminating things, and then we have the sense organs with the help of the sun and others can objectify some specifics. And it's all the sense organs are devatas. They are the devatas. And so they are working with their macro counterparts. Like the eye is the devata which requires the devata of the sun, because sun means the light. Until the light is there, your eye devata cannot function. But the eye devata is now, with the help of the sunlight or other lights, is able to identify and function. But the eye cannot function unless the thoughts help the eyes. So the eye can be open. But if your mind is not present, you don't see it. So the mind has to be there in order for your eyes to function. Is the mind the final authority? No. Drigeva natu drishyate. You are objectifying even the mind, which in turn is objectifying some objects with the help of the sunlight. But you are the person that is objectifying the thoughts. Now the question is, who is objectifying you? Because I do not function until I know my thoughts, until my eyes can identify. I can identify Anderson Cooper. He looks like a person. It's from my memory. But to ascertain for sure, my mind has to go back and make sure that it is in fact Anderson Cooper's. So the mind, the eyes objectified an object, and my mind validated it, and you are the one who decides and said, yes, this is it. Now the question is, who's validating you? Because everything needs a validation. Except you. Except you. You don't need a validation. Swayam Jyoti. Swayam Jyoti. Swayam Bhu. Swayam Bhu Bhavati. It is self-existing, self-aware. This is the reason you do not require a proof. This is the reason you are fresh forever. This is the reason. You are Sanatana. We call it Sanatana Dharma. This is the reason, as I mentioned to you, the Omkara is called Pranava. Pranava is split into pra and nava. Nava means new. fresh, young. And pra means prakarshena nava. The other new can be for a while. Like a fresh banana. You can say this is a beautiful, just ripe. You just give it some time and it becomes old. Because it is dependent on so many things. But you, the Atma, is Pranava. Why is it Pranava? Because it is Swata Siddha, Swayam Jyotihi. It does not require any time. It is not dependent on time. It's the only thing which is independent of time and space and objects. This is Satyam. This is Satyam. And so therefore, we can now validate what the Shastra is saying, that there are indeed three levels of reality. One which is independently true, which is you. And one which is dependent on you, which is everything that you experience. Everything that you experience, it requires you. Just look at it. Everything that you experience requires you. You cannot, can you ever have an experience? Because, sometimes we say, what about the experience of some other place that I am not there? But you see, that's not my issue in life. My issue is the world that I experience. Where do I place it? What reality do I give to it? What reality do I give to myself? And what reality do I give to my experiences? Experience meaning people, situations, my own body, my own mind, my diseases. This is the experience. And so if I just look at it, the whole world is nothing but my experience. That's all I'm concerned with. That's what I should be concerned with. So the question is, what reality do I give to it? And without understanding my own Satyam, without understanding my own Satyam, the fact that I am Swata Siddhaha, Swayam Jyotihi, without understanding that, I go back to the two-level reality. Because what appears to be Satyam is, I just have to take it to what it is. It is not a relative Satyam, it is the real Satyam. It's like a child that doesn't know what electricity is. All it deals with is heaters and air conditioners and fans and microwave ovens. That's all. This is my life. So therefore, the whole world takes on a new meaning if I understand the Satyam about myself. Satyam about myself. Because the only thing that does not require a proof, therefore it is Satyam, is me, is you. Everything else that you objectify fails the test of Satyam. It fails the test. Because you can never visualize. The only thing you can fool yourself is to say that you are going to die. And you just refuse to believe that you cannot die. But there is no proof for death. Because, you know why? You should be able to answer this by yourself. Why is a death not possible? Just think about it. We just talked about this in this whole class. So this is just another way of asking the question, why is death not possible for me? Because I am Swatasiddha, Swayam Jyoti. It does not depend on anything. It has its own existence. It is existence by itself. It is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. So, we spent almost like an hour on this point. I didn't realize it, and I just looked at the watch. It's 9 o'clock. And I didn't even get into the section of the chapter 13, which had to do with Vairagya. But then this is Viveka. You cannot do Vairagya until you have Viveka. At least we touched on it in the very beginning, that you cannot be, Vairagya means disinterest, no desire. And the non-desire, no interest can only come in when you see the falseness of it. As a stone fruit. I should really bring that picture of it in the next door. My wife got this, a long time ago, she got this bunch of fruits that are so realistic, it's unbelievable. That if you just put this on the table next to food, people will immediately look for it. There's a peach and some other apples and so on. So until you see the non-reality of it, you cannot give it up. You have a desire for it. And so really to see, all we did in this class was to reiterate the Viveka. But you cannot solidify the Viveka because it is still doubtful. Really, is this true? Am I Satyam? It appears to be, but I don't know. One can have those kinds of feelings. But as Adi Shankaracharya ji said, really speaking, the best sign that you understand that you are Satyam, is to have Vairagya. Because if you appear to go, you are appearing to go after the world. After the world means you're to fulfill your desires. That means you don't yet understand that this is not a real fruit, it's a stone fruit. Very clear. So Shankaracharya ji says, if you want to really self-examine your own progress, see your degree of independence of the world. Your Vairagya is the best way for you to tell whether your understanding is true or not. So again, I thought that we would go into the details of Vairagya, but I think having strengthened the vision of the Viveka, we hopefully next week we will go into the very steps required. It is all from an explanation of the Viveka, really speaking. So the more solid our foundation is that of the Viveka, the better off we will be in understanding what I need to do to ascertain my Vairagya. So with that, let me close the class, because I don't want to get into the steps of the Vairagya. It will take some while, starting with the, I think that in the verse number 62, it is the starting point of the ending point of Viveka and the starting point of Vairagya. And this is what I was essentially pointing out in the last 1 hour. So we will very quickly summarize the verse number 62 of the chapter 13th, and then look at the implications of it in terms of Vairagya as we go forward. Okay? So with that, let me end the class. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So nice to see you all. Wonderful. I'll wait to see if you have any questions. All right, doesn't appear to be. So I'm happy that you all attended the class and look forward to hopefully seeing you next week. Hari Om.